Hello and welcome to Higher Achievement's Literature Curriculum Overview. My name is Mike DeMarco. I'm Higher Achievement's Director of Program Quality and Evaluation, and I will be taking you through this training today. Okay, so as an overview, today we'll be going over the literature curriculum. We'll be doing an overview of the literature unit, talking about some of the skills that will be covered in your curriculum, talking about pre and post tests. This will be the first year we'll be doing pre and post tests. We'll be doing them in math and literature, so I want you to be prepared to do that as well. I'll be going over our red flag evaluation tool that I touched on in the curriculum overview, and also going over details and goals for each unit within the curriculum, as well as end-of-year projects and common implementation challenges and solutions. So the basics of the curriculum. The literature curriculum is a 20-lesson sequence. It's organized around reading and writing activities, and discussions offer multiple opportunities to think about books in conjunction with the social justice themes that run through Higher Achievement, as well as scholars' own personal experience, as well as your own personal experiences that you bring to the classroom. Okay, so we'll be reading different books at each grade level. Fifth grade, we'll be reading about scholars will have a choice in either The Gift Giver or Any Small Goodness. The Gift Giver is a story about a fifth grade girl named Doris who lives in the Bronx. The story is about her friendship with a new boy, Amir, and life in her community. Any Small Goodness is a story about a Mexican-American family in East Los Angeles. Sixth grade scholars will have a choice of reading House on Mango Street or A View from Saturday. House on Mango Street is a coming-of-age novel written from the point of view of a Mexican-American community, told through the eyes of Esperanza, a tween-age girl, so about the same age as our scholars. And it's told through a series of vignettes and is set in Chicago. View from Saturday is about a group of middle school students who form a team that enters a quiz game or academic competition, and it's told from a variety of perspectives, first-person and third-person omniscient. Seventh graders will read Go and Come Back, which is a novel written from the perspective of a young girl who's a member of a tribe whose home is in the Peruvian jungle. The story revolves around the interactions between the main character, her community, and two women anthropologists who come to live with and study the community. So your scholars in seventh grade will be anthropologists for the summer. And eighth grade has some really great selections. Eighth grade, our scholars read The Pact, which chronicles the lives of three friends who make a pact to go to college and then to medical school and return to Newark, New Jersey, where they grew up, to support the community they were raised in. And scholars will also read selections from Down These Mean Streets, which is an autobiographical novel about a boy of Puerto Rican and Cuban descent who grows up in Spanish Harlem. It was published in 1967. And the book deals with his youth and early adulthood, and his dealings with poverty and discrimination, gang violence, drug addiction, prison, some really poignant topics, and the scholars read excerpts from this book. Okay, so our curriculum for all four grade levels emphasizes these four things: elements of fiction, reading comprehension, the writing process, and English language conventions. So for each grade, the elements of fiction. In fifth grade, scholars go through story map, setting, character, problem solution, theme, plot, point of view. In sixth grade, in House of Mango Street, scholars deal with the vignette form, types of figurative language, plot and theme. In The View from Saturday, they deal with point of view, character, plot, setting, problem and solution, sequence. And Go and Come Back, in seventh grade, scholars work through context clues, drawing conclusions, conflict, irony, plot, biography, and primary and secondary sources. And eighth grade, scholars work with character and conflict and relevance. Reading comprehension, which is, as you know, the ability to construct meaning from text through the use of a variety of reading comprehension skills, including creating mental images, background knowledge, asking questions, making inferences, determining the most important ideas, synthesizing information, and using fix-up strategies like rereading, where scholars are struggling. The writing process. At Higher Achievement, we use a 5-step writing process that includes peer review and feedback. So the 5 steps: first, we have pre-writing. Second is drafting. Third is revising. Fourth is editing. And fifth is ultimately publishing. And finally, English language conventions. In all classes, scholars will be learning new vocabulary. Literature is a great class to use all the vocabulary for short activities, quizzes, competitions. There are Higher Achievement vocabulary sheets that are found in the first part of every scholar's binder in their Scholar Pages section. These English language conventions, they mostly take place through vocabulary acquisition, listening and speaking skills, and the writing process. And one other thing I want to emphasize, throughout Higher Achievement, we really emphasize the need for our scholars to use standard English, so please be sure to emphasize this in your classroom as well. As the literature teachers, that will be very important. Pre- and post-tests. So, like I said in the beginning, this summer we'll be utilizing pre- and post-tests for the first time in math and literature. So as literature teachers, you'll be piloting this for us. So our pre-tests, the pre-test needs to occur during the first few days of Summer Academy, and obviously the post-test occurs during the last few days. When you come to summer teacher training, your center teams will have more specific dates as to when you will be implementing them. It'll be a little bit different at every center. Each test will take about 30 to 45 minutes. So please know this when you are planning your lessons. Know that in the first week and the last week, you'll have to dedicate one class period to these tests. So please know that when you're lesson planning and when you think about lesson compression, know that we'll have to account for these pre- and post tests. And these tests are correlated to Common Core standards. It covers the Common Core skills that we expect our scholars to have. And one of the great things from this pre-test is we'll be able to develop individualized supplemental work for your scholars off of these tests. So they'll be able to get very specific support for their areas where they need additional help. Off of that, we have our red flag tool, which I talked about in the curriculum overview. The red flag tool is, as I mentioned, is Higher Achievement's early warning indicator system. You'll see it integrated into Higher Achievement's literature curriculum throughout. You can see an example of that on the right-hand side of the screen. And there's very targeted supplemental work and activities to support areas that scholars need improvement. So when you look on the right side of the screen, over here where my mouse is, you'll see these little flags. These flags correspond to specific items within the tool. So you'll see there's a little number 3 in the first one, a little number 1 in the second, and a little number 2 in the third. These will correspond specifically to the red flag tool, which is shown here. So you'll see number 1 relates to quoting accurately from the text, 2 is compare and contrast, and 3 is theme or main idea. So those are flagged within your curriculum. So if you're seeing scholars consistently struggle with these ideas, not that they're just getting one question wrong, but they're really struggling to grasp these skills, this is an indicator for us that scholars need a little bit more work with these skills. So what you do is these tools are included at the end of every lesson. If you see a scholar struggling with this, you'll write their name right on the paper underneath where they're struggling, the skill at which they're struggling. And you'll hand this to your center director, and your center director will make sure that the scholar gets the specific supplemental work that he or she needs to work on these skills during Summer Academy. Okay, so here are the unit details for each grade. I want to emphasize the importance of reading a book from start to finish and really analyzing its contents. that's important for our scholars to do over the summer. There'll be writing assignments that scholars have that are placed in specific points through the unit. So, for example, in 5th grade, they might write something about point of view, do a rewrite from a different point of view. 6th grade, they'll write vignettes or poems or a letter. 7th grade will do a field report similar to the what they're reading, go and come back from an anthropologist's point of view. And 8th grade, we'll work on essays. Throughout your lessons, there'll be mini lessons on grammar, and there'll be lots of vocabulary. Either it's assigned or generated by scholars who have questions about what does this word mean as they read. And that's assigned throughout. So I would highly encourage you to utilize vocabulary, to quiz scholars periodically, have them come up with their own definitions, have competitions, have games. And I would also encourage you to really celebrate that that act of asking, what does this word mean, and really exploring the definitions of words. So when scholars don't know what a word means, put it up on the wall. Really have that so that when scholars walk in, they can really see all the words that they're learning throughout the summer. And also, just so that you know, there's a special handout for higher achievement vocabulary and silent reading in the front of the scholars' pages in their own binder. So when you come across those words that scholars don't know, they can not only will record it on the board or on the wall, but also within their scholar pages. Projects. There's projects for every grade in literature. So the 5th graders will be rewriting a scene from one of their books from a different point of view. 6th grade will be doing a creative writing choice. 7th grade will be doing field reports as anthropologists. And 8th graders will be doing a visualization essay. Okay, implementation challenges. Every summer there's, we go through a lot of material over the 6 weeks of Summer Academy. It's intense, it's fast. And so these are some challenges that have come up, and we want to just alert you to so that you can begin planning how to overcome these challenges. So first is the amount of reading. It's a lot of reading, and some scholars are at different levels, so they might be a little bit behind. Other scholars may be ahead. So what we found works best is really offering a variety of reading activities and giving scholars some structured choice. So maybe, okay, do you want to read silently today, or do you want to read out loud as a group, that sort of thing. Really changing up how we're reading, and I'll go through some of those options on the next slide, actually. Writing assignments. This is something we get a lot of pushback on. A lot of times scholars don't want to write, they just want to have discussions, and discussions are great, but we really need to make sure our scholars are working on their writing skills. So please don't be skipping over writing assignments. Don't just think, oh, I'll have a discussion in lieu of a writing assignment. There's reasons why we want our scholars to write. It's good for them to have that practice and build those writing skills. So again, you can do structured choice for writing. You can play different games, like, okay, you're going to write a paragraph, pass to the next person, they write a paragraph. It's almost like a group write. So there's different ways to ensure that we're getting our writing done. Another challenge is levels of skill proficiency. I kind of alluded to this earlier. You'll have scholars who, are just flying through the book or reading it on their own time, and you'll have scholars who are really struggling. So being sure that you're individualizing the support that you need. If you're going to do a group read where you're going to read out loud in the group, and you know that one scholar really is struggling, you might want to let him or her know ahead of time, hey, tomorrow I'm going to ask you to read this passage, so please pre-read this for me, and give them the opportunity to pre-read it and see the material, so they're not trying to sight read, during the class. It's really important. So meeting scholars where they are at their level of skill proficiency and supporting that. And finally, lesson pacing. A lot of times our teachers will get behind in the beginning, and then struggle in classroom management procedures, or not planning their lessons fully, and so as a result they wind up rushing at the end. So the best way to avoid that is to plan ahead, really plan your lessons, really look at your weekly schedule, read through all the curriculum before the summer starts, plan your lessons a week ahead of time, review them again, and so that you're as familiar as possible with your lessons. The other thing that often derails our summer teachers can be classroom management struggles. So, be sure to review with your center staff your classroom management plans, your incentive system, your behavior system, your discipline system, so that you can have as strong classroom management as you can to really ensure that we're focusing on work and not focusing our energy on trying to get scholars to participate. And finally is lesson compression. So if you find yourself needing to rush at the end, I'll go through some lesson compression strategies where you can pair up similar lessons where you cover similar topics and cover 2 lessons in one in a productive manner. So I mentioned there are a few different options for reading. There's individual silent reading. There's small group or partner reading, where they pair up and just reading in those small groups. Teacher-led reading, where you as the teacher read and scholars just follow along. There's choral reading, so there's different ways to do choral reading if you're not familiar with it. For one example is you could have half the class read the narrator's part out loud. You could have and the other half of the class read any dialogue, or the teacher reads the narration, the class reads the dialogue, so it's kind of like a chorus. Another example is as a class, you determine how a character would look or sound, and so when that character does that, comes up for dialogue, the class talks like that character would, speak. There's different examples like that. And finally, there's popcorn reading or round-robin reading. Scholars love this. They really get into this. This is one strategy. But one caveat for this is where you have scholars that do struggle as readers with sight reading and reading aloud. You'll just want to prep them ahead of time and really set them up for success to let them know, hey, this is what we're going to read tomorrow in class if you want to review it, and help them review it so that they feel comfortable getting called on. Okay, some options for writing. Be sure that you provide structured choice. What I mean by that is providing 2 different options for scholars that are both acceptable for you. So maybe you could say, would you like to write a journal essay or a poem about this? And those are both 2 options. Structured choice is not, do you want to write about this or do you want to talk about this? Because we need to make sure our scholars are working on writing. So providing that good structured choice. You can do individual or group assignments, so varying up the different methods at which scholars are writing. And writing could be in a journal, so it's just going, informally getting thoughts on paper, or it could be more formalized, 3-paragraph essay, that sort of thing. So make sure you're getting those, giving that feedback, and giving those choices to scholars, so that they're enjoying the writing process as well. Skill proficiencies. So if you are, we really want to make sure that our scholars are getting individualized attention. So these are some different ways to ensure that scholars who are struggling can have their needs met. So you can do that by making sure you're grouping scholars properly and with similar proficiencies, so you can offer consistent support. Maybe you're emphasizing more read-aloud activities for scholars who are having a tougher time reading, keeping out more interactive reading activities so scholars can maybe act out. That might be exciting. And like I said, giving pre-reading or allowing scholars to reread at different points in the night. Maybe they could take it home, maybe they could do it at recess, maybe they could do it in homeroom. There's different options at different centers. And you can also offer alternative assignments that demonstrate reading comprehension. So each lesson has a do now activity. You can offer an alternative do now. You can adjust that to show, have scholars show their reading comprehension skills and understanding of the text. One thing I want to emphasize is there is that final writing assignment. Please, please, please be sure that you don't want to get rid of that. That's what we're building towards in our classes. And you want to have that be a focus and provide guidance and help to scholars to be sure that they are able to complete those assignments. Okay, lesson compression. So Lesson compression can happen really in the first 4 weeks of summer academy. The last 2 weeks, it's tough to compress because a lot of that time is spent working on projects, and it's just hard to compress that time because scholars really need it to complete their projects. So how do you compress a lesson? There's 5 steps. So what lesson compression is it involves taking 2 or 3 lessons. You really can't do more than 3. And compressing them into one lesson. So if you find that your pacing's off, you can do this to get back on track. So first thing you're going to do is review lesson objectives, skill emphasize, and overall curriculum goals of 2 to 3 lessons. Determine where the lesson objectives overlap. Where there is that overlap, you can combine associated activities. And then rank the remaining activities according to how well they align. So when you do that, you'll see there'll be a natural fall-off of things. This doesn't align as well. Okay, we're not going to cover that. We're going to cover 4 of the 6 activities in these 2 lessons. And then you'll implement the activities that are most central to the overall curriculum goals. So by doing this, you can this is not something you want to strive to do in the beginning, but it's something that you can do if you find your pacing gets off. And like I said, you'll want to do this early because the last 2 weeks of summer academy, after week 4, scholars really need that time to work on their projects, and you just can't really compress those lessons. So this is something you want to focus on in the first 4 weeks. Okay, so there are additional resources for you on ISIS that you can log on and check anytime. You'll find different checking for understanding techniques, Bloom's taxonomy, methods for opening and closing a lesson planning form, verbal and nonverbal cues, and much more. There's a lot of resources there, and I really strongly suggest that you check them out before summer starts so you kind of know what's available, and then as summer goes along, you can see if there's anything that you might need, and you'll be familiar with where to find it. Okay, if you have any questions, you have a lot of support here at Higher Achievement. You have your center teams who are with you every day. You have your fellow teachers who are there. In addition, there's the directors of site operations at every city, and there's me. I'm Mike DeMarco, the Director of Program Quality and Evaluation. You can always feel free to contact me with any questions. My email is mdemarco@higherachievement.org, and my phone number is 202-375-7708. Thank you for teaching with us, and enjoy your literature lessons this summer.